some people still not used to it. All right, so
I feel you. I got into Jewish Matchmaker over the weekend.
now I do have the recording going, and I think Indian Matchmaker just had like a second season drop.
I didn't even know there was Indian Matchmakers. Now I have to watch that when I finish Jewish Matchmaker.
It's on Netflix.
Fail, did you know? Listen, they will never say it, but I got a little glimpse into it on Jewish Matchmaker. There's some kink going on in the Jewish community because the men use this thing called tefillin to pray. It's basically strips of leather that they wrap around their hands. And one of the chicks in the show was like, "Do you use tefillin?" The Jewish ladies, they really like it. And she was like feeling it. I was like, "Okay, girl, relax." I had to look it up. It do look sexy though.
Okay, all right. I know I will never check it out because I don't really care for those shows. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Big Letter Little Letter Podcast. I am your host, Hedo.
And I'm Jam. Hi.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome you to episode 15, where today the focus is for roleplay.
I'm very excited about this. As you can see, I feel like my mention of Teflon was a good segue into that because it's essentially a little bit of bondage.
Just a little bit, you know. And we're going to go ahead and just cover certain things in regards to roleplay. Not going to go too deep into a deep dive. We're going to go ahead and split this up because when it comes to rope, there is so much involved with it. And
Yeah, I mean, max safety. I feel like people do their most research when it comes to role play. Like you got to take intro to anatomy.
yeah, there are levels to it because it's one thing for impact because there's a booty meat area. You already know where you're gonna hit. But when it comes to rope, you gotta be mindful of where certain veins and arteries are. You gotta be mindful of tightness because you're not trying to kill certain nerve endings. You have to be like wary of certain points of like where weight can be distributed if you're doing suspension. Like there is so much that goes into rope play, which is why again we're gonna have to like just break this up into like different morsels so that way we can go ahead and enjoy every bite.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job. So, how about we start with types of rope and what we can do with them?
I will say nay. We should talk about what we've been up to.
Fine. Oh, yes. Oh, guys, I'm very excited. Honestly, I could have a full episode about Submissive Weekend with Black Hair Dom. It was good.
Now, how about hitting them with the cliff notes?
Oh, but it was so good. Okay. What up, Space? You guys know I always talk about like knowing who you are and doing your own personal work before you get real deep into kink with other people. And we did a lot of that. Like there was a range of us there, people who had been in kink for years, people who had never touched BDSM at all and was just like, I wanted to know what this is. And then people who are like just started studying and wanted to take the next step. So it was nice to have a range of people in that way. And also, there were people who had like DOMs already, people who were just like exploring on their own. So we had a lot of discussions about like what we wanted to get out of it, how to have really important discussions, you guys, about consent, about aftercare, um, about how to set yourself up so that you're taking care of yourself and also your Dom is taking care of themselves, which is super important. And then we got treated to the best Saturday night I could ever. Like I didn't spend any money that weekend. So Black Horse Dom really did it for us. Took us to dinner, took us to the club. It was like, get what you want. I felt special. And there's not a lot of people that can make a room of 23 subs feel special. Black Dom did that shit.
Oh no, that's what's up. Because I was doing my own little shenanigans that same weekend that you were having your fun with Black
You
Cordon.
were.
As far as catching up with me, I did the foolish venture of doing back-to-back trips to the DMV. First one was for Goddess Honeybee's birthday. She did a little kinky game night, which was a great time. And
Yes, I saw a
then
lot of cuddling happening there.
must have happened after I left because I had to like drive back to DC. It was popping off at like near Baltimore Airport, so I'm like, yeah, I gotta make this 50-minute drive back to DC and get ready for the next day.
Damn.
But yeah, it was a great time. The games were fun. I know I'm supposed to respond to this evaluation. She does a survey thing. I have yet to reply to it. I should probably like try to do that after we're done recording because she's just trying to like fix certain tweaks of the night because this was like
I love
essentially like
that.
she said herself, it was like a soft launch, kind of like, hey, let me do it in a controlled group before I invite even more people. So great time. Saw some people I knew, saw some people I didn't knew, some people I only knew virtually. So that was what's up. I came back to Tejas to then fly out again, but this time with my anchor partner for the Fun Sexuals play party. It was a swing fling luau. That's what it was. A
How was
theme.
it?
It was great. It had a good amount of people. The vibes were great, and what I ended up doing was like 5 wax play scenes.
Okay,
So,
busy again.
yeah, but this time I made sure I treated myself to a cutoff. I was like, after this, I'm done. I'm gonna go enjoy my night. I ain't getting paid for this. Like
Proud of you.
this is something I have fun with. I don't want to get lost in the fun because I want to go have some other kind of fun. Um,
Hmm.
in there, Sir Merciful, he pretty much had a room on lock where there was just a whole lot of moans and yelling coming out of there.
I love it.
So it was overall a great vibe. The cuddle room was a vibe.
Mhm.
We had Jax as well as the Naked Trumpeter. That's where that room was set up. Eventually, it turned into like a soft orgy room. Like it was like still a cuddling vibe, but then adults sometimes cuddling escalates into something more.
Sometimes.
So that was a great ass time. And then just did stuff like check out the African American Museum and did like a little photo shoot with my lady because I figured there's someone I know in the kick space that did like photography. I'm like, since we're up here, might as well go ahead and pay for a session. And those are the pictures I used. Yeah, I think I put it on the profile. I don't remember,
Yeah, you did.
but yeah, it was overall a great time. Came back, had to recuperate because I don't know if like I caught some on the plane or being on that small of a plane back to back weekends. Like I was just sore and I was tired and I was like, oh, I still gotta get up and work. And guess what? We're doing it all over again when we go to Hedonism in July, and I got like a performance in June. So we'll talk about those when those come about.
Good luck to you. I mean, now you're back to traveling for events, but you also gotta work during the week too.
I mean, that money gotta come from somewhere.
Make sure you drink some coconut water and get some sleep.
Woof, woof, woof on coconut water. I drink my regular water like a regular guy.
Okay.
Maybe with some Mio. I don't know. I haven't tried
You
Mio
should
before.
try it. I finally had some coconut water because I too was sick last week and I needed more. But I actually found some coconut water. It's pretty good.
I only use coconut water in my in my smoothies, shakes, whatever it's called. My smoothies.
Fine.
There we go. That's my compromise. All right. Now, enough about the Kinky Weekly. Let's get into the actual episode. Rope play.
Yes.
Now,
Okay, now I can talk about types of rope and what we do with them.
yes. Yes, we can. Now, in terms of the rope, the type of rope is very important here because you don't want something that has too much give, like a bungee cord, because that can cause issues as far as tying, releasing somebody, cutting circulation. So you want to be mindful of the kind of rope you use. A lot of like beginner situations typically start with like a cotton kind of like multi-strand rope, and by strand it means like they kind of weave together into like a thicker rope. That way you can support more weight and things of that nature. But cotton typically has a little bit more give than one would like, so you would rarely see anyone that calls themselves a rigger or a rope top or anything to that effect. You'll never really see them use cotton. The preferred rope that's normally used, it would be jute, hemp, and bamboo. These are normally used whether it's ground ties or suspension because of certain grips that they have. You're able to condition them to how you see fit. So these are like when you quote unquote the professionals. That's it. Those are the type of ropes that they are using. Now, there are other ropes that can be used, especially for just strictly like designing or certain levels of like localized bondage, like a kind of like a body harness, chest harness, cuffs, and the like. And that would fall with nylon and MFP, which long word multifilament polypropylene, whatever it's called, but MFP typically used when you see like colorful designs that you see like pictures taken. Those are generally just ground ties, nothing too
Yeah.
intricate as far as like suspension. Main reason is they don't have the same grip as a jute, hemp, etc. So
Mm.
it's normally localized ground ties, and because they're colorful, you can do various designs. Like
They're
apparently,
super pretty.
I accidentally made like an AKA design with my yellow and my not yellow, my green and pink rope. When someone called it out, I was like, okay, I see what the AKA is like. Oh fuck, my bad. Wrong. It looked good though.
Right. You interested though?
Yeah, those are the types of rope in general. So nylon, MFP, jute, hemp, bamboo.
Yeah, I find when I first started in rope, I just got me some quick like cotton rope, and nothing too serious, just like learning ties and like learning what rope feels like around your body. Cause we'll talk about it more later, but just seeing what rope feels like on your body is super important. So like I use my cotton rope to do like arm harnesses and things like that, and then just see like where do I feel this? What does it feel like? And cotton rope is pretty. You get any color.
Yeah, and also it's I mean, in general, rope, though dangerous in certain aspects, is a very tamed kink slash BDSM way to go about things because there's tutorials for it. There are various,
Yeah.
even on YouTube, you'll find various videos teach you something as basic as like a single column tie. But I'm going too far into certain things. Let me at least go ahead and say real quick whenever I say rigger or rope top, that is the person that's normally doing the tying. Whenever you hear me say rope bottom or rope bunny, those are the people that are being tied up.
Yeah, like me.
And you've been tied up before, right?
I have by our guest actually.
Oh yeah, you were at that party.
I was.
But yeah, we do have a guest in the next episode, so be sure to look for that next week or
Yeah,
next
the
clip.
learner
This is a podcast, so like get to it when y'all get to it.
face.
All right, now what can you now when we say like what to do with rope play? Primarily, you can either go the design route. So that's rope dresses, that's different harnesses and the like.
Mhm.
There's also rope gags. So instead of using the ball, that whole rubber ball gag that you can get from the store, you can contort rope in a way where it imitates a gag, restricting someone from speaking. You can make rope cuffs on various parts of the body, so you can cuff people's
Yeah.
legs, cuff people's arm, cuff people to objects. Again, there's also suspension. You could use rope in a way to tie a body part in order to suspend it. This is a very high level form of rope play. It is very
Yes.
dangerous. We will talk about that soon, get into that a little bit sooner. But honestly, you're limited only by your imagination and what the body can handle. Those are your limits as
Yeah.
far as rope play.
Safety and imagination.
Because one of the who was it Dallas Playhouse met up with one of my favorite riggers, Mr. Solomon.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, she was telling me of how she used was like kicking it with him. Like he suspended her, so I
Mhm.
don't want people to think that you have to be like a skinny twig to be suspended. No, various body
Yeah.
shapes, forms, and weights can be suspended. They can be tied. Big people, they be flexible too. So don't think that, you're limited. Even if you're not flexible, that's what the beauty of
It's true.
rope is, that you can adjust.
You know what it reminds me of? Of when I took like an acro yoga course, which
Mhm.
if you're not sure how it'll feel to be suspended, I suggest go take an acro yoga course and then you could get a feel of like what that's like. Because you go up on like the cloth and they teach you how to like wrap your legs around so you can hang off of it. But that instructor really got me because we do this part where you hang upside down, but our cloths were lifted a little higher so that we couldn't reach the floor and hold ourselves up.
Mhm.
And you feel the pull of it in your body. And they were like, is it pain or is it just the body stretching? And I'm like, it's a real thin line there, lady. So no, definitely like anybody can do suspension, but if you're not sure like how you feel about it, like you could work with a rigger who can take it slowly and like keep checking in with you, or you could go do an acro yoga class and see like, do I like the feeling of my body being stretched in this way?
All right, but there. See, I will avoid that class apparently. Um,
No, do it. It's so good for your back and your hips.
I'll check it out. Let me go to a chiropractor first. All right, but before we talk about that, because I before we talk about suspension, I do want to go ahead and talk about what a term that a lot of us have heard, a lot of us might know. It's commonly called Japanese rope bondage, but in short, we're talking shibari.
Yeah, we know somebody clicked on this episode like Shibari. Not quite.
So yeah, that's why we call it rope play. We did not call it shibari. I mean, down the line we might go a little bit deeper into the overall aspect of shibari, because it's a very complicated history.
I mean, I feel like there are a lot of things in BDSM that is a complicated history, but with anything else, if you're going to practice something, just know the origins of it so that you can respect it.
Yep, because what I'm not gonna be is that person that pops out the blue and is like, "Oh yeah, I'm a master yoga instructor," while meanwhile I have no idea that where in India it came from or why it exists.
Right.
But yes,
So for,
shibari, as I said, Japanese rope bondage. Shibari comes from Japan. That is where that overall term comes from. It means to tie, from what I was reading. It's believed that this was going on back in the 1200s, so when we weren't even twinkles in people's eyes. So it was a while back where this bondage was taking place, and it was honestly developed from like an ancient martial arts kind of what was this? What does it say? Hojo
Hojo
jutsu.
Jutsu.
Yeah, it was pretty much. It was just a way to keep prisoners tied up. That's really what it was.
I
It's
mean, it's Japan. Did you expect anything else?
Japan is fun. But yeah, it wasn't about like, oh, it looks cool or anything like that. It was like there was functional purposes. It was to keep prisoners from being able to escape, because what people are not going to do is use metal cuff balls and chains. Like, no, here's rope. Good
Too
luck.
heavy.
So that's where it overall comes from. The reason why it reached this side of the world is shout out to the Great War, World War II, where you had American occupation took place, and sailors and the Navy saw these kind of rope work being done, and that was taken back to the States, and it was kind of like flourish and spread from there. And
Isn't that so weird? I really want to know what the thinking of that person was like. Oh, look how they're tying up their prisoners. Should we get that over to the Americans?
Oh no, I bet it was like 10 people. 9 of them saw like, man. I mean, I guess we got cuffs. Like, why would I want to do this? You had that one freak that was like, you know what? I could work. It was likely a queer individual that like had the thinking outside the box of like,
Possibly.
I can
You
go
know
ahead and
what
make this
else
work.
though? You know what else? Because you know they used to do all types of crazy stuff to women in the name of hysteria.
Hmm.
That's where our favorite magic wand came from. Could you imagine if they were like, this could be a really good way to hold those women down?
Shout out to the masters of sex. I mean, maybe I don't know, but essentially, what's been going on since it was taken stateside. There's been a little bit of like tit for tat, pitter patter going on because you'll have anyone call anything shibari over here, but
Yeah.
we are kind of trying to be more mindful of cultural appropriation. Like, it doesn't take much to give proper respect to where something comes from. That's how I
Right.
feel about it. Like, it's one thing to say, here's shibari, here are the artists we took it from. It's another thing to say, like, yeah, it's Japanese, but here's how I do it.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that, folks. It's too easy for you to just be like, "Hey, I'm a rigger. I do the rope." You don't need to walk around talking about, "I know shibari." Like, no, buddy, it's okay.
So yeah, so if you're not doing it based on the origins, I would just say simply you're just doing some rope work or Western style rope. Like, you don't have to call it
It's totally
shibari.
okay.
It's all rope play.
Hmm.
Unless you're gonna find an English word for just tying someone down. Well, there it is, tying someone down. We keep it
All
moving from
times. Yeah.
there.
I like to tie people down.
I like to tie people up.
Yeah.
So overall, as far as shibari goes, there are various traditional patterns that can be done. There is the karada, which is a full body harness. There is the, I forget the name of the chest harness that I normally, that's my go-to. What's it, hijutsu? I don't remember what
I
it's
don't
called.
know.
I got it from the duchy. I don't remember.
I enjoy chest harness, but I've never heard anybody call it anything but a chest harness.
Oh, there's also the futomomo. That's the leg tie that, like, kind of like it binds your calf to your like hamstrings. It's wrapped around your
Ah,
leg and then it's like
yes.
sealed up. Yeah, the futomomo. That's a favorite of mine. Um,
Momo.
yeah, I love the name,
Okay.
futomomo. You got your mermaid tie. You got your TK ties. There's like variations that there's multiple variations that one can learn, and a lot of it you cannot incorporate into suspension. Some of it you can.
I mean, there's so much fun you can have with rope. Like even the ties we talked about, like a mermaid tie, people use for photo shoots all the time.
I did for my
It's
photo shoot.
you did. You can have so much fun with rope, like even when you're learning it on your own. If you could figure out how to self tie, especially like a corset tie or like uh a futomomo, I've seen people do on their own, and then you can have a lot of fun with it.
But yeah, and from Shibari, I want to go ahead and move over to suspension. And
Ooh,
we could have talked about this one first, but I wanted to save it for second because it is very important that I say this. This is the most dangerous level of BDSM that you will come across.
that's facts.
Like, there is one thing for needle play and knife play where someone can get cut, nicked. There's a chance for you to possibly save a person, hold the blood, anything to that effect. When it comes to suspension, if something goes wrong, it only takes a person being 3 inches off the ground for them to drop and break their neck.
Hmm.
So that's why I have to make sure I give emphasis. Suspension is one of the more dangerous forms of BDSM that you will come across. That is why this is not something for anyone to play around with. You want someone that
Right.
has the references. You want someone that has the experience. You want someone that can reference who they learned from. There's quite a few things I'm self-taught in. Guess what I will never do? Self-teach myself suspension because that's how serious it is.
It's true. This is not where you start, friends. Okay? This is not your entry point into rope.
Not at all. Because again, like, I already know 3 people I will likely hit up because I I'm this year I'm focused on like perfecting my electro play, picking up
Yeah.
fire play. After this year, my focus will be purely on suspension. Like, I will take time away, go to multiple classes, go to multiple resources, and learn this art because it's not something that I it's not something I could treat as a hobby. I have to treat it like a job if I'm going to do it well because that
It's
one,
true.
someone's life is in my hands dangling off of
Hmm.
a triangle beam in the middle of the air. So,
Yeah, I think you and I both know people who have been doing rope for years and still like don't want to get into suspension until they have time to dedicate learning it.
of course, because one of the main things is that you have to forget everything you learned about rope. Like, you have to start from
Okay.
scratch because there's some things where as you learn rope, you might get sloppy in like certain hitches, certain
That
ties,
makes sense.
because you're not looking for it to be functional. You're looking for it to just fit the properties of what you're doing. But when it
It's
comes
true.
to like, all right, I'm gonna suspend someone by their legs. You know what you're gonna need to make sure that hitch is nice and tight so it doesn't slip off and like cause an error.
Yeah, you gotta like think about body weight. You gotta think about pressure points, and that's something that you might do in shibari, like where are the pressure points. But in shibari, like there might be a focus of putting rope on pressure points, but you can't hang somebody off those same pressure points.
Oh yeah, and also there's the thing where in on the ground I can get safety scissors and get you out within a few seconds. In the
Yes.
air, a few seconds, like ooh, it's gonna be a dance. Like let me see if I can get you down quick enough so we don't have to amputate a leg because of a lost circulation.
Yeah, that's like doing what's that weight thing where you have to lay down?
Bench pressing.
Yeah, like bench pressing without a spotter. Like that's not safe. You don't want to be in a suspension space without your safety plan.
So yeah, I mean the main tools for suspension is honestly you do need you need strong rope, and again, this is why you go for the jute, the hemp, um, and bamboo, because they also have the grip. So when you hitch, it will stay locked in. Trust me, we'll talk about what a hitch is at some point.
Mhm.
Um, but yes, you want to make sure you have a strong rope. You also will likely need certain not chains, but there are certain implements that are used in order to like hold the person onto the beam or whatever is used in order to like hold the
Yeah,
person
think
up.
about like your camping gear. There are a lot of suspenders they use
Ooh,
carabiners because those usually hold large amounts of weight. A lot of
I would go
people who
rock climbing gear, honestly.
yeah, yeah, rock climbing gear for real. That's the stuff they pull out. The carabiners, your really strong rope, not the thin, flimsy stuff. And then make sure if you do suspension with somebody that they're testing it out themselves. So some people carry around the 3-tier structure. And that's supposed to like lock into place and then it has hooks in the middle of it for the person to be suspended off of. But you want to make sure they're checking that because you don't want that 3-tier thing falling apart like a clumsy spider on you. But
Not
if you
at
go
all.
somewhere that's like dedicated to suspension, they'll have anchor points in the walls. Like sometimes if you go to a dungeon, you'll see like there are anchors in the walls, and those things are in studs. I don't know how many of y'all know construction, but things like that need to be inside of the stud of a wall so that it's secure. Like if you can't pull on it or like put your full weight on it, then that's not strong enough.
Yeah. So that's it's it's a very particular art that you have to make sure that you are careful if you decide to learn it. And if you decide to go get suspended, you have to this is where vetting comes like in you have to vet seriously. You cannot just grab someone that said, "Oh yeah, I think I did that a couple years ago, something like that. Let's try it."
No,
You need an expert because what we
yeah,
don't
no,
want is for the 9 o'clock news to say, oh, or tweet out, "Hey, someone broke their neck being tied up."
it's a tweet out for me. Yeah, this isn't a you go to a party and you see somebody doing it. Even if you see a line for that person, like don't just go up to somebody and be like, "Hey, you're suspending people. I want to know." You track these people, okay? Be your best stalker self and track these people before you go do suspension with them.
All right, all right. Let's go ahead and wrap this episode up. We don't want to take too much of y'all time. Lady Jam, what all do you want to plug?
Well, as some of you may know, I'm officially jobless and moved out of my state. So, if you want to support your girl, you can hire me. I do cuddling, I do yoga, I do doula work. I can do it all virtually if you're not in the East Coast. So, hit up my website, maryjanescouch.space, or hit me up on our IG page
All right,
or my
and
IG page.
We do have an IG page, big letter, little letter. I'll have it in the show notes. And I am the host, Hedo. You can find me as Hedonistic Dom on Instagram, Hedonistic_Dom on Twitter, and Hedonistic Dom_ on FetLife. Again, we have our own podcast for the show, not podcast, IG for the show, Big Letter, Little Letter. Podcast, and I do have another podcast, Hitchhiker's Guide to E&M. Be sure to check that out. Anything else for the people, Jam?
No. I'm gonna ask you some questions about your E&M podcast later, though, because I'm in my bag.
Okay. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that y'all stay safe and be kinky out there.
Bye.